Hello everyone, my name is Sharon and I am a artist from Vancouver, Canada. Today I want to do a Artist Alley vlog of Fan Expo Vancouver. And this is the show that I just finished recently in 2024. In this vlog, I want to do a full breakdown on tips and whether is it worth it. Hopefully it'll be helpful for those of you who are considering doing an Artist Alley here, and also like some tips and tricks along the way that I found really helpful. So let's get started. To give a little bit background about Fan Expo happens in many cities like Chicago and also like Vancouver, Toronto, and so forth. And I think Vancouver is one of the smaller conventions, I would say, out of all the shows that they have. I think in Canada they only have three, like Calgary, Vancouver, and Toronto, which is called Fan Expo Canada. So Vancouver is the smallest out of the three. This one is a 3-day convention. So compared to, let's say, Fan Expo Toronto, that's 4 days. It's not as long, and therefore, like, you may potentially make less as a result because you have one less day. But the hours are typically around 9:30 to 7 on like the busy days, like Saturday, and then 9:30 to 5 p.m. or so for like the Sundays and like the other weekdays. So usually I think that most artists, as I've talked to at the Artist Alley, say that they do make their money back. A table on average starts at around $240, $270 before taxes if you want to get an Artist Alley table. Of course, that's not for premium or like any of the end tables. I would say that that's just kind of one of the base price, but you need to consider your inventory and such. Also food. That's something you should be aware of if you are planning on doing a convention in the show. And food is a little bit more expensive at the convention, and also like it's quite a bit of lineup, so plan ahead. There are some more affordable foods outside the convention hall, but like it's a little bit are quite out of the way, but there is like food courts available, so maybe pick up your food on your way here if you're an artist, so that you don't have to run and line up for food in the convention. So one thing I would say to start off is that like I'm not a full-time artist. This is more of a hobby on the side that I'm doing. Here is my table on the setup day the day before and how it looks like. The show usually happens around February. This year in 2024, it happened during the family day long weekend. I was super excited because I was going to bring my kids and my family along to see what I do. I'm just showing you slightly like my prep process and how everything looks beforehand, before the mayhem. One of the things that I think would have been helpful when I was setting up a table was if there was table numbers on the top of the tables to figure out where you were, but I think it's just a logistical thing. This usually is not an issue with Fan Expo in general. Setup time started around 6 p.m. the day before they let artists in. I would say this is a great show to start off with if you're looking to start off in a 3-day show, like a step up from a community center craft fair. And it's definitely way more affordable if you are a local because you don't have to worry about hotels and flights. So definitely a plus if you are a local here. Here is Heidi, my best manager slash friend who's been supporting me through this process. I also want to give out a shout out to my friends, family, and kids, and also my colleagues who come to support me for the show, and my loving husband who has been an absolute superstar in supporting me through this entire process. Overall, I would say for the Fan Expo show has a very good flow of people. Of course, Saturday is usually a little bit busier and it's like the busiest days out of the 3 days. The peak hours around 2 to 4 p.m. when it's literally like shoulder to shoulder, but everyone was super sweet and like really good vibes all around. I found the artists were super friendly and like sharing treats, and everyone was cheering each other on. Most artists, if not all the artists that I met, definitely re-signed up for tables for next year because the show overall was quite good. I think all the artists made their table back after day one, considering day one was Saturday for the show because it landed on a family day long weekend. They do have an option to rebook for a table before the last day of the show, so you can book for next year. You have the option to book in person, or there's a link that's sent to the current vendor. So after that, I think they are opening it up to like new vendors to apply. And I think most people that I know did apply again. Talking to some of the patrons and people who are walking around, they definitely sense that there was more anime than previous years. Here you can see like there's lots of cosplayer and people are super friendly. My kids went and saw tons of princesses and superheroes and they were super psyched. Everyone was so up for like photo op with the kids. So I think it's a great option for those of you who are not traveling to Universal Studio or like Disneyland and such, and you're looking for an opportunity to take pictures of superheroes. I think this is a great option. They do have like a lot of celebrities at the show, which is on a separate section from the artist alley. I was so excited to hear that a lot of people actually came to Fan Expo specifically for the artist alley, and I had some really great conversations with people who attended the show, and that just really warms my heart. There are vendors from all across Canada and some in the States who were at the show. All the vendors around me were either from Vancouver and Toronto. Later on, I think I might do a separate video on like tips and tricks on how to put your display together, suggestions and advice for new artists who are looking to be a vendor at the artist alley. If you think that is something you'll be interested, I would love it very much if you will give this video a thumbs up and comment below about content you may potentially be interested in seeing on this channel. I mean, like during the show, I had lots of like young artists who were talking about their work and showing me what they do on their phones, and I just had some really engaging conversations. So I thought these videos might be helpful for young artists who are looking to be vendors at the artist alley in the future, and maybe even veteran artists who are just like looking to see if Fan Expo Vancouver or other shows are worth going to. So what is my bottom line? Is the Fan Expo Vancouver worth vending in as an artist in the artist alley? I think it's the definite yes for me. And of course, it really helps in that like I'm from Vancouver, I don't have to worry about the hotel costs and the flight. But the tables are quite affordable, I would say, compared to other shows, especially for the artist alley. I'm not saying for exhibitors and such. There was a good flow of people constantly throughout the show. I don't find that the artist alley was too big and that you're competing with a lot of vendors. It's like a really good size, or like a intermediate size, I would say, without feeling super overwhelming compared to some of the much larger conventions. For veteran artists, I think that if you've been around to the different conventions, this is not like the biggest show available, and you're likely not gonna make like the most money out of all the conventions if you were going to Calgary or Toronto, some of these much larger shows. But I think it's like a good intermediate if geographically it works for you and you're just looking for something like a bit easier. If you don't want to stand around for like a full 4 days, I think this is a nice 3-day show to spend the weekend at. And like, it's definitely less overstimulating compared to Toronto, as my previous experience at the Fan Expo in Toronto was just quite overwhelming with like the number of people. Not to say it wasn't good, it was just like a lot happening, so it's just a little bit of a different vibe. In this show, I definitely had more time to stop and talk to some of the people who were interested in my artwork, so I can tell a little bit about the story and why I do what I do. So if that's something that you're interested in trying an artist alley that is like not super intimidating and you're just like dabbling into conventions, or you're local on the West Coast, I think Vancouver is a great choice. The applications do, I think, open a month or so after the convention happens if you are a new vendor, but you may not get a confirmation until like a few months later, just because they have a lot of conventions in between that's hosted by Fan Expo, so they might not get to it till later. I don't believe there's a specific jury process for the show, but you are required to talk about like what kind of items you will be selling, and there's no weapons and such. So that's something to be aware of. Overall, my family, my kids had a wonderful time. They had a family zone, and like a Lego section, and my kids were just like so thrilled. It was so exciting for them. And it's almost like a second Halloween because they get to dress up again. So I think this one is pretty family friendly. Well, that's it for the Artist Alley vlog for Fan Expo Vancouver 2024. I would love to hear from you guys if there are other videos you'd like me to do from the artist point of view at the Artist Alley, or if you were at the show, did you think it was worth it? Did you enjoy it? Or were there things that you think can be improved upon? Love to hear from you in the comments below. And with that said, thank you so much for joining me in this video. If you have gotten this far in the video, I appreciate it very much. If you can put a thumbs up emoji on the comments, I'm just curious about how far people get along in some of my vlogs. Well, that's it for today. Hopefully I will see you in future videos. Take care and stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.